on Grady Newsource. A new birth control option is hitting the shelves. Find out what it means for women. Over in Oconee County, construction begins at Harris Shoals Park. The project is almost $200,000 and will improve parking and paving at the park. Also, we'll dive into Project Safe, a non-profit fighting domestic violence in Athens. We'll take a look at their thrift store as well as an event from over the weekend. All of this and more, live at 5.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College of the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
Good evening, I'm Karina Murray and welcome to Grady Newsource. Our top story of the day, Georgia running back Trevor Eaton, a football transfer from the University of Florida, was arrested earlier Sunday morning on a DUI reckless driving and 2 other charges. Grady Newsource reporter Emily Wisnowski brings us details on the arrest.
Driving under the influence, reckless driving, failure to maintain lane, and affixing materials reducing windshield and window visibility were all charges posted for Trevor Etienne after his arrest in the early hours of Sunday morning. The 19-year-old running back from Jennings, Louisiana, announced his transfer from the University of Florida to the University of Georgia on Christmas Eve in 2023. Etienne is expected to be a shoo-in for the top running back position for the Bulldogs in 2024. Jeff Gillian, the public information assistant for the Athens-Clarke County Police Department, shared the official ACCPD statement about Etienne's arrest via email earlier today. The email stated as following. An ACCPD officer observed a vehicle driving recklessly on South Milledge Avenue at 1:50 a.m. Due to the reckless driving and observations made by the officer during the stop, Etienne was arrested and charged with the following. Stephen Drummond, the Executive Associate Athletic Director for Strategic Communications at the university, wrote, "We are aware of the charges and are currently in the process of gathering additional information. This is a pending legal matter and we will not have further comment at this time." Reporting for Grady Newsource, I'm Emily Wisnowski.
Athens-Clarke County is preparing to support local nonprofits with additional funding under a new initiative. Grady Newsource reporter Jack Shields explained where this money will go.
Athens-Clarke County commissioners are set to vote on the proposed allocation of $550,000 to local nonprofits during their scheduled meeting on April 2nd. Under the current proposal, over $200,000 would go to local homeless services, with the rest of the money going to other community service activities. The funding will be available under the county's new Community Partnership Program and could be available as early as July 1st of this year. District 6 Commissioner Jesse Houle says the Community Partnership Program is a more objective approach to nonprofit funding because it includes a competitive bidding process. Under the new program, a vision committee is tasked with the review of all nonprofit applications. Houle says this initiative is following up on a strategic plan to reduce and prevent homelessness in Athens that the county introduced last year. They hope to see a ripple effect that will enable everyone in the Athens community to make an impact. Next week's vote could pass a proposal that would allocate roughly $205,000 to homeless shelters and services in Athens, including the Athens Area Homeless Shelter, Sparrow's Nest, and Bigger Vision of Athens. In total, 11 different nonprofit organizations will receive local funding under the current proposal, with an emphasis on neighborhood revitalization, poverty reduction, and homeless services. The executive director of the Athens Area Homeless Shelter told me that local funding is crucial to all of the shelter's programs and services. We will continue to monitor this proposal and provide updates as we learn more. For Grady Newsource, I'm Jack Shields.
This morning, the city of Watkinsville began city road and parking improvements at Harris Shoals Park. Grady Newsource reporter Taft Gant has more on this exciting project.
I'm here at Harris Shoals Park, the oldest park in Oconee County, where today construction has begun for parking and paving improvements.
The point of doing this is to create the spaces and actual line spaces to be more efficient in the parking, since there are a lot of people that use the park.
The project will cost just under $200,000, and with the help of a Ward Garrett Paving Company, will work to make permanent parking with painted lines, as well as improving the road that you see behind me, which runs in and out of the park.
That's the plan. Probably most of it will be down in this area. the parking area. They'll start on the larger parking area first, and then there's smaller areas along the road when you come in. You see all the stakes, they're already staked out, there's wooden stakes. The plan is to get it, for the contractor to get in this week and start doing some sort of general prep work for the paving. If they can get all that work done this week, then next week there will be one day that we will have to shut down the park so that the paving can actually occur.
Weather permitting, Dickerson hopes this project will be complete by April 5th. For Grady Newsource, I'm Taft Gant.
The Athens-Clarke County Government Animal Services Department has confirmed 3 cases of canine parvovirus at Buddy Christian Way, also known as parvo. The disease is highly contagious, especially for young or unvaccinated dogs. Athens Animal Services said they will not be accepting any owner-surrendered dogs until Monday, April 8th, due to the virus as well as space constraints. The first over-the-counter birth control pill is hitting stores and online shopping websites. Grady Newsource reporter Ashley Simmons tells us how this new access to contraceptives contributes to women's reproductive health care.
Until now, for the very first time, the U.S. is allowing for over-the-counter birth control to be purchased. This means no prescription for the pharmacy is needed for this pill.
I think the concept with over-the-counter birth control is to be able to have accessible birth control instead of waiting for a doctor's visit in order to get a prescription. I think it'll help a lot overall women's reproductive health.
Initial clinical trials of the pill show the effectiveness rate can be as high as 98%, meaning only 2 in 100 women will become pregnant in a year of use, according to the Food and Drug Administration.
I do believe that the pill is pretty effective, and then I do believe it's a good idea for women to try the progesterone-only pill. It won't affect many people's health issues that are out there that estrogen can affect, so I think it's a great idea.
Perfect use/effectiveness includes taking 1 tablet at the same time every day without any breaks, don't take breaks in between the monthly pill packs, and use backup birth control like condoms if you miss a day or is delayed in taking the daily tablet for more than 3 hours.
I think the new over-the-counter birth control is a really great development. I think increasing accessibility for women in this case will be extremely helpful for women all over the country.
O-Pill is available to order online on Amazon. It is also available in stores such as CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. And you can check the O-Pill website to check local stores near you. For Grady Newsource, I'm Ashley Simmons.
Nursing shortages are projected to continue until 2036. According to newly released data, Grady Newsource reporter Abigail Watts tells us about how the shortage impacts nurses in Georgia.
I feel like there's been a shortage, maybe even since I entered the profession, but it's interesting watching as nurses get older and as patient population gets older, there's clearly going to be more and more of a need for nursing.
Megan Can is one of many nurses in Georgia who have felt the impact of national nursing shortages, which are projected until 2036 by recently released data.
A bachelor's degree is the most common degree for initial U.S. nursing licensing. Colleges like Augusta University's College of Nursing here in Athens help prepare future nurses to enter the workforce.
Katie Baumeister was inspired to follow that path from the impact of nurses who cared for her grandmother in the hospital.
I am graduating in 2025 with my Bachelor's of Science in Health Promotion, and then hopefully getting my MSN through Augusta's Accelerated Nursing Program.
I think there are actually a lot of people who are interested in nursing, but because of the shortage, there's actually only a handful of professors, of nursing educators, nursing teachers. So I think that is like a big part that limits class sizes.
The National Center for Health Workforce Analysis surveyed nearly 50,000 registered nurses in the U.S. in 2022 to 2023. Burnout was one of the major factors impacting job satisfaction among nurses. The majority reported that their feelings of burnout increased during the pandemic.
And it's hard when we work short-staffed, when we're down a person, when you're triple, when I'm supposed to only have 2 patients, you feel it, and those are long days.
However, students like Baumeister hope to bring change.
A lot of our generation wants to change that and sees how important the field of nursing is.
I feel good about the work I do, right? Certainly there are different things I could do that would make more money, but I always feel like it's a gift to be able to support somebody when they really need help.
Abigail Watts for Grady Newsource.
In international news, the United Nations Security Council approved a resolution demanding a ceasefire in Gaza during the periods of Ramadan. It also calls for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. The United States abstained from the vote, with the other 14 parties approving. Coming up after the break, Grady Newsource reporter Anna Ruth Riggins looks into an organization fighting domestic violence.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey,
soon.
sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How
Move
does
it where?
tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew a girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
I'm like,
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light.
yeah.
I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
I'm joined by Grady Newsource reporter Anna Ruth Riggins today, who has been working on a solutions journalism story about Project SAFE. Can you tell me a little bit more about your story?
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. And Project SAFE is a nonprofit working to end domestic violence through crisis intervention, ongoing supportive services, education, and prevention.
And what are some of those programs and services that Project SAFE offers?
So some of the programs are they have a bilingual service, and they also have an outreach center, and then they also have a shelter, which is probably the most important. But the one that I focused on the most was the thrift store, which serves as a place for clients to go and shop, and also anyone in the community can shop at. But if you are a client, they give you a voucher, and you have first priority to things as well. So people that face domestic violence, they can go to this thrift store and shop once they're out of the shelter for their new homes and apartments.
Let's take a look at your story.
In 2022, there were 129,528 crisis calls to Georgia's certified family violence and sexual assault agencies, which was a 13% increase from 2021 crisis calls. Project SAFE is a nonprofit in Athens to help people facing domestic violence. They have a thrift store where 90 cents of every dollar made goes to supporting clients, services, and programs. Although they do not have access to the shelter, volunteers say they meet them in the store after they leave the shelter.
They can come in and shop for their new homes when they leave the shelter. They get to get apartments and things like that. So they come in with their children and they get to pick out beds, clothing, dishes, whatever they need for their new home.
The store is also volunteer run with only around 4 to 5 employees that are paid. Donations are accepted every day except for Wednesdays from 11 to 4:30 p.m.
So our shelter, we have a lot of our residents at our shelter come into the thrift store to shop and get the things that they need. We write vouchers for other agencies. We work with a lot of other agencies in the community to write vouchers for people so that they can get things that they need, like Bigger Vision, Athens area. We work with a lot of the schools around here.
There was a 57% increase in family violence fatalities from 2012 to 2021.
Research shows that a lot of abuse was just not documented during the COVID years when we were all in lockdown. People were, I'm not to say that we don't really know like from an increase or decrease on the actual data because you can't measure it if nobody's like counting it, right? But there is definitely an increase in that I have seen.
Although they aren't able to put every item donated in the store out for sale, Poland says she tries to donate those items to other agencies they work with.
It's fun to see how like this can help the community, like having a thrift store where people can shop for clothes that aren't that expensive, but also like contributing to Project Safe as a whole.
For Grady Newsource, I'm Anna Ruth Riggins.
Staying on the topic of safety, the Athens-Clarke County Sheriff's Office hosted a women's safety workshop this past Sunday. Grady Newsource reporter Hannah Dindy shows us what advice and defensive moves the women learned to protect themselves.
This workshop gives women the tools and tips to help them be aware of their surroundings and unique skills to defend yourself and tools to help get out of a scary situation. 2 police officers from Athens-Clarke County Police, Lieutenant Charlie Wang and Sergeant Justin Pressridge, led the women's safety workshop, offering advice and tips to help women stay safe in the Athens community. On the panel, Lieutenant Charlie Wang gave tips out for women on safety and how to best navigate situations to protect yourself.
Women need to use their best resources. It would be tools and their strengths, which would be certain type of training. So if you look at the evolution of safety for women, women don't need to play fair.
Walk in those woods all the time, and I work at the Daily, and I've talked to a lot of women that came in, not a lot, some, so who walk at Lake Herrick, and so I just wanted to seeking information.
Women also learned and were taught defensive moves by tactics trainer David McAllister that are useful tools to use if you ever get into a situation where you need to defend yourself against an attacker. Athens-Clarke County plans to host another women's safety workshop on April 20th. If you're interested, you should sign up to attend the class to be able to get some great tips and advice to stay safe in the Athens community. And from Grady Newsource, I'm Hannah Dindy.
Grady Newsource returns after the break.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please. I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
I'm Sarah Fredrickson with today's Sports Report. This weekend was a busy one for UG Athletics, starting with the NCAA Women's Swim and Dive Championships hosted right here on campus. The Georgia Bulldogs finished just 13th overall, but Georgia junior Abby McCullough took home her own championship win in the mile freestyle. The gymnastics team also competed this weekend in New Orleans and placed 8th at the SEC Championship. Moving over to men's sports, senior Corey Collins was named SEC Player of the Week after the Georgia baseball team completed its sweep of number 8 ranked Alabama with a score of 10-5 on Sunday. The men's tennis team also won big this weekend against LSU, Arkansas, and the Citadel. The men's basketball team beat Wake Forest in the National Invitation Tournament this weekend. They'll play Ohio State in the quarterfinals tomorrow evening. And speaking of basketball, the first 2 rounds of March Madness tournament have wrapped up this weekend with some surprising upsets. And last night, Houston beat Texas A&M in overtime in one of the most exciting games of the weekend. We'll have weather after the break.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
I'm Presley Owen, here with today's weather report. We've had a cloudy day here in Athens with a low temperature of 42 degrees this morning, but we reached a high of 63 this afternoon. Going into tonight, we can expect cloudy skies to continue as storms roll in and temperatures begin to fall. Now let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Tomorrow, we can expect some rain showers with possible thunderstorms rolling in during the afternoon. We're looking at a high near 64 and a low around 54. As we move into Wednesday, the rain may continue. The high is expected to be around 73 degrees with a low that night of 49. Moving on to Thursday, there is still a slight chance of showers, but we can expect the sun to begin peeking out again. The high will be around 67 with a low of 39. As the weekend approaches, we should see sunny skies. Friday, the expected high is around 70 with a low of 43. Saturday, we are looking at a high of 76 and a low of 49. This beautiful weather is just in time for you to enjoy all of your Easter festivities. When we come back, we'll take another look at Project Safe.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise, on top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. Alright, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand, trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
A local nonprofit that supports victims of domestic violence hosted its annual fundraising event, Dancing with the Athens Stars, at the Classic Center on Saturday. Grady Newsource reporter Mackenzie Baker shares whose performances were award-worthy and more.
Dance, community, and domestic violence awareness are what Project SAFE's Dancing with the Athens Stars is all about, but it's also about raising money for the nonprofit. Since the event began in 2008, no other place but the Classic Center in Athens has hosted Dancing with the Athens Stars. Prominent figures in the Athens community are selected as stars who get paired off with different dance instructors. Most of the instructors work at Dance FX in Athens, but several teach at other studios or programs. For weeks on end, each team prepares a routine and practices their performance leading up to the event. Team 2 star Julita Sanders, who's an Athens neighborhood service officer, has never done anything like this fundraiser before. Despite the challenges, she discovered her favorite part of the event.
Dancing with my partner, Jeff Chin, him pushing me out of my comfort zone. That was absolutely amazing.
Bridget Woloff started as a volunteer. Now she gets to take part in helping events like this one come together as an employee.
I just really love seeing everybody come together and really make this event and all of our events the wonderful times that they are.
Mayor Kelly Gertz and his wife presented the awards at the end of the night. Team 7's Paul Brooks and Viv Hamilton won Community Favorite, and Team 6's John Olive and Allison Smith won Judge's Favorite, with Team 4's Gary Warnfeld and Natalie Cox winning their own award for raising the most money. As of earlier today, Dancing with the Athens Stars raised approximately $91,500. The entire night focused on raising awareness and funds, plus a domestic violence survivor even had the opportunity to share her story. She was met with loud cheers of support from the crowd for her bravery. For Grady Newsource, I'm Mackenzie Baker.
That's all for tonight. I'm Karina Murray with Grady Newsource. We'll see you back here at 5 o'clock on Wednesday. Have a great night.
Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
You know, a lot of people say, when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. if I'm really free. Take me down to the river and walk.
All right. So guys, thank you. It was a good show. I think we were a little bit challenged with visuals, quite a lot challenged with visuals, but we had important stories. And just when you're an MMJ, even if you're doing a newsy story, try to have a bird in hand. So I didn't realize you didn't get Jesse Hool at all. You just had a. Yeah. So our two newsiest, most important stories were lacking in B-roll and sourcing, but it was important to have them. And I appreciate that you got us some information, but we need, a little more preparation. I hope we'll do better on Wednesday. We have Dr. John Peters who's going to be joining us, so I'm hoping that we will have a little better sourcing. Anything you want to share with us, guys? Why did you struggle so much with the sources? Was it because of the sensitivity of the issues, or?
I mean, mine was no one wanted to talk about it, and when they did talk about it, they were like, I have to read through and get very, very educated on the matter, because it's Georgia football. I mean, it's the biggest driver for the university. It probably honestly makes the most money for the university, so people want to be really careful about how they talk about it, especially since we had said the DUIs seem to be a lot more common than they probably should be. So that was the biggest factor, is them just being like, I need to sit down and read through, or they were just busy with their own jobs and couldn't take the time. They were in court or other things.
And what about you, Jeff?
For me, it was just sensitivity, because the only B-roll I had, I got kicked out as soon as I started filming, and so I couldn't record at any of these places, because they're protecting the anonymity of the people that are there, especially kids. So that was the big challenge with the visuals, and then sourcing was just completely different. But
yeah. But I'm glad that Will, I think you were right to start with that story, because Will and I debated about whether to start with a story where we didn't have human sources, but I think he had a good point that was a really important story to start with. So I'm glad that we did start with that story. And I just want to ask again for you guys not to pan. Ashley, you had some pans that were a little dizzying, so try to do sequences, just film something, and also avoid jump cuts. Yeah, but you had some good sourcing. It was just distracting. The B-roll, you had the B-roll and you had the sourcing, but if you could just be more mindful of those jump cuts, and it doesn't work with a phone, and no matter how. Plus, if you have to do it, do it slower so that it's comfortable to your eye, and that's what I would recommend, but try to avoid it. Guys, avoid those pans. I really want to pan the pans. I thought that it was a strong show. Will, if you want to say a few more words. We had a lot of the same kind of treatment, poor B-roll with, yours had some good B-roll, but poor B-roll with a lot of stand-ups, so we should avoid that in the next one.
I was pretty happy with the show overall. I wish we could have done a live, but at the same time, I was really big on not forcing a live somewhere that it didn't belong. So in the end, I think we made the right call on that in terms of availability and things like that. Someone said this last week or the week before, but most of the day I thought that it was going to be under, if anything, And then a lot of the packages that came in like towards the end were a little bit longer than I expected. None of them were like crazy, but when you add them all up together, it makes a difference. So we had to make some last minute adjustments in terms of like shortening teases, floating a couple of readers, but we ended up making it like almost to the second. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, and Anna Ruth, I noticed that you weren't reading, you were ad-libbing, and it really, I think you were because I didn't see you reading a prompter. So I thought you did very well, very pleasant presentation. The two of you had very good chemistry. Yeah, that worked. That worked. I saw, yeah. Yeah, and you let go, and at one point you tried to get on the prompter again, and then you let it go, which was much better because you should let go. You're really a good narrator. So, yeah. And the social worker, you couldn't get her on camera? You could only get her. All right, we try not to have friends of...
Yeah, I mean, they weren't like, she was like, I
Okay.
couldn't get with a therapist because a lot of them were busy, obviously, and so I wanted to have them fit in, and so I started looking at what
Yeah, and what would be your biggest recommendation? Solutions, journalism, stories, that's why I have you pitch them ahead of time. They really take a lot of time. And with Will, he had to pivot, and I don't know how he still managed to get everything done because they take more planning, they take sources that are not easy to get, usually. So that's why I ask of you guys to plan early. Any advice from your experience on a solution story?
really think about the expert and follow someone more.
Yeah, that's true.
Topics that we people have been doing, I feel like
Yeah.
kind of, so it's kind of hard to get an expert on something like that. So really, making sure that the topic you're able to get.
And get access, right? Yeah. So I thought, everything came together well. We were able to. Timmy, would you like to say something from your point of view?
It was very well. That was probably, I feel like pre-production can be very chaotic from like the production, from like the control room side, and like everything was on time. I didn't really have to like chase anyone down to submit their packages. Like the 5 minutes before the show, like we all felt really good. So definitely keep that up for Wednesday and future
Yeah,
shows.
because then the show is cleaner, and we had this nice. Thank you for going to film. You even had the mayor. Sorry, I have some allergies. Yeah, but even the mayor. And I had this, Mackenzie was not thinking of saying that the mayor gave, and then she just sort of slipped up when we were talking. That's why I like copy editing your stuff with me, together with you, because I find little things that are important. And it's like, you had the mayor? He was say that. And I think that was great, yeah. So all in all, that we had some interesting, Hannah, your story came together, very interesting. You had you were actually showing the training, which was very interesting. The shots were good, and I see you improving a lot with every show, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, and that was a quick turn, and you had several sources. And I do appreciate, Emily, when you do something that's newsy, that's kind of harder I do appreciate the effort to report that. It's not as easy as having something that is already pre-planned and pre-shot. So we need a mix of those stories. Yeah, so guys, just keep it going. Thank you to Molly and Jessica and this is my transition to, I'm really excited about the April 10th Solutions Show. And again, sports and weather were excellent, very nice, very nice. you almost ran out of space, but you managed, you never hit a temperature. Even though, remember what Chip Mahaney said, to kind of stand on the extreme of the screen. But yeah, and your delivery was good, and both of you. Yeah, even though you had to keep it short, but we got you in. We got everybody in. Will tried very hard to get everybody in, even with the shorter versions. So I'm pivoting now with gratitude to our digital team for the April 10th show. Guys, do you, Taft and Ashley, you happen, I put you there just because that's how it all came together. I didn't even know. I knew Taft. I didn't know who you were or whatever. It just came together there. Are you guys comfortable with producing that show? You are? All right. You won't be here? Okay, so we will need, does anybody want to volunteer to produce that show with Ashley? Okay, do you want to work as a producer? Okay, and you want to work, Presley, as a, okay, so how about, I can have, let's see, let me look at the show, and let's see what roles you have and how I can work around not having Taft also, which means you have to do some work, because I had taken you off the schedule with Ashley the day before to work on it. So I'll probably have to put you to kind of replace the producers that will be working on the show with you. I'll have to put them to work on the, I'll see how things work, but guys, I will look at the schedule, and I want people to volunteer and to have it in their heart, and be passionate about it, and really want to work as producers, because that will help your resumes also. Sarah, I'm happy you're doing the digital. Talk to Molly and Jessica and start thinking about how you'll do that outreach. And I will have to also, when Taft is supposed to be a digital producer, maybe I'll put you also in that slot. I'll see how, because that was my whole idea, was to have the two of you be digital producers, and then have a whole day to plan it, and then produce the show. So I'll have to rework the whole concept and thing. Okay, I'll do that. But let's talk about, I need all of you to pitch in ideas, because we will try to get people to respond, as Molly and Jessica have been trying, on social media. What is your big issue that if you could talk to your representative, what would you like to ask him or her or them? And so the idea is to be able, by the end of this week and beginning of next week, to nail down a big issue that we are noticing that people in Athens and the surrounding counties are really worried about or interested in. So how do we, I have two ideas, but I need you to help me out as well. And Ashley, for now, Ashley and Presley and Hannah, what do you think, how do you think we can get actual people on camera and a few questions on social media where people are asking the actual question, but first we need to nail down the question that will be resolved by representatives. And then I'll get to you. Just one more thing I have to say. Next week we have to start reaching out to representatives, because they're busy people and April 10th is really close by. So start thinking, look at your contacts. Who would be a good contact? Once we nail down the issue, who would be a good local representative who could actually come here and respond to people's questions? Yes, Presley? Okay, so that would be a different kind of concept. That would be really getting people who are political, young people. That's interesting. Instead of getting the county representatives, that means getting people who are young, opinionated, partisan, and asking them, this is what people want. But they're not politicians. They don't have the power. That's what I want, somebody who has the power to actually, and the experience and expertise in local government to actually come and debate and put together a solution. Because that's the, they're just students, right? Oh, so they would be the community, the question, oh, that's interesting.
Like a spokesperson for the community, like asking questions that they
From
feel.
a partisan point of view.
And then you would have the
Okay.
officials
What do you think,
respond.
Talk, guys, talk. Yeah, talk to them.
That's actually really smart, because when you were saying you want to like get people on camera, I think it's going to be really hard to get people on camera and press questions about like immigration, left and right, gun control, and all of that, because the
But we'll
political
choose
atmosphere.
one topic. We'll have to choose one. For example,
One?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a solution show. So
Okay.
remember how I played that Danish show for you, Solve or Squeeze?
Yeah.
Well, first they went to the community and they collected questions, and they saw that most people were interested in that. It was like spending money on a senior care facility. A lot of people were in that Danish community. They're totally different society and whatever. And so that's when they got all these people from different parties to come together and come up with a solution. How are they going to spend this money in a responsible way? And that's how that worked. So it is a solution story, a solutions discussion, which is inviting politicians to have a constructive debate about one issue. Now, if there are 2 or 3 related issues, we could still ask them to come up with a solution. But the whole point is to have this one big issue that sort of we've noticed that, or you have noticed in your reporting, that keeps coming up. My former students came up with development and economic growth, which a lot of people are having concerns with all, how is it going to affect our local schools? They're becoming overcrowded because a lot of big factories are being built in Jackson County, and they're hiring people, and those people are coming into our communities. And so there was a lot of concern. How do we preserve the rural nature of our communities, yet have those jobs and this industrial development? That was there at that time. But I think like we've shifted post Lake and Riley, and I think we've shifted the focus on what people are concerned about. So how do we get, so we have 2 issues. How do we nail down that one big issue that crosses county lines? And how do we get the right kind of people who have the power to solve it? They're not going to come up with a silver bullet, but how do they discuss what people are concerned about and come up with a solution? Or if they're related issues, post Lake and Riley, we could discuss that as well. Or I'm not saying that that would be the biggest issue, but just giving you an example. So am I making sense? Any ideas?
Yeah, I just think, like she said, getting the young Democrats and Republicans, because I know a lot of people don't want to get on camera and share their political views because you don't want that attached to your reputation, because the political atmosphere is so hasty, and these people obviously don't mind sharing their political beliefs because they're in clubs like that. So I think that would be good to eliminate almost like an awkwardness for people being like, well, yeah, I might have strong opinions, but I don't want to go on camera in front of whoever
But
and
that's
give my
not
belief.
the point from the community. Thank you for bringing that up. The community perspective is not I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, right?
But
The
a lot
point
of
for
the
the
times the views
community
won't
is this is what I'm worried about. Now, again, it could be very It could be sensitive, yeah, if you're
That's
on one
what-
side
yeah.
of the immigration debate. If we're talking, yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
My idea was like, what is the biggest issue? But if they come up with immigration and it's from one point of view, then it becomes very political and it's all aimed against Athens and not the, so.
I mean, it obviously depends on which topic we pick, but I was thinking about like immigration.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
someone were to walk at me like, what are your thoughts on the border? I'd be like, none of your business.
Yes, I see where you're, that's a very valid point.
Was
Sarah, you want to grab a mic? You had a question?
I was just gonna say, this is just a random thought, but like for socials, for something that like if we kind of talking about trying to figure out what topic we want to actually decide on, people don't like answering open-ended questions. So if we gave them almost like a poll or an options to kind of be like, these are certain topics that we're thinking about talking about, like what
poll,
issue actually
yeah.
cares most about you, because people, it's way easier to click a button rather than type something out, and so people will definitely
I
respond
like
more to
that.
that.
What do you
than-
think?
I agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. Who's digital producer on Wednesday? I have it somewhere in my. There you go. All right. Great points, guys. You're really helping me out and with a very different kind of concept. Okay, so if we get like a poll or a quiz, and we still have to, so we have to do a whole show. So the quiz gets us to nailing down the issue, the top issue, or maybe we have 3 segments of the show with 3 different solutions. So we have first they're looking at, let's say, immigration. Then they're looking at, I don't know, something else that we could have several issues. But always focus every segment on one particular issue and ask representatives to come up with an agreement on this is what we can do about.
Timer and have, like, I don't know if it would be possible to have like a timer or something somewhere so they can gauge until you like switch to the next.
Yeah, it'll be good to get, we
like a
don't have those
timers.
walls squeezing them closer and closer together, but we could have a timer. The other thing, I was talking to Andrew, whether we should record this or go live with it. I don't know. It depends on what you decide, but bear in mind, whatever we do on that day has to be done early enough so that every person can sort of take who's going to help produce it and who's going to help with everything else. We'll have to take that chunk and copy it and edit it for air so that we have the whole show to air at 5 p.m. It'll be recorded, but we have to have it ready. So that's production-wise, we need to think about that as well. Yeah, my former students kind of everybody had a little role. We had a producer who was right on top, just one producer, and she was right on top of everyone. She distributed, the editing to people who are very good and fast with Adobe Premiere, and so they were able to do that. She has a tutorial on how to do cameras and also how to edit when you have footage from several cameras. It was very complicated, but they got it done. So, because if you have 5 representatives, then you have to shoot with 3 different cameras at least. So then you have footage from several cameras that you have to marry together, which is a complicated thing. So we have to decide whether we do it live, 3 segments going to break, or whether with a timer or something, or whether you do the editing, which will take a lot of time from 3 different cameras. Andrew says we could do both, but we have to think it through. But first things first. Yeah. because it took them a long time, and Jim Black kind of coached them how to do that. But maybe there's a new feature in Adobe Premiere that if you can.
Yeah, I need a refresher. While we did like
Okay, so that could be your role. You could help with that and oversee that, and because everybody, you know, in the pitch sheet for that show, just pitch whatever, in whatever way you are involved in the show. Everybody needs to help. And
I have like one idea that I think I could throw out with like, I like the idea of doing actually something live and like time segments or whatever, and you have like the two people from different, and you're like, okay, like this is the issue, like say the overall issue is safety, and then the first segment is on immigration. You have your panel, and you have like your two, like your Democrat and your like Republican student, whatever, and they're like, okay, like this is the issue. Like you as a five, whatever, have to come up with a policy that you're going to implement throughout your collective county, whatever. This is your time, go.
Okay, so that could be a show. We're going back to what Presley said in the first place. We're going back to political science, but these people have to be political science students, right? Who have some kind of expertise
Well, they would
in
just
policy
be asking
making.
the question. They would be like, this is the issue from like the public end. Now come up with
Okay.
a policy for us. Like that.
Okay, and
like,
that
then
would
they
be
can,
posed
like,
in that
vote
way.
on if they like think the policy was like a good policy that agreed with both of what they wanted, or like almost give
Okay,
it a
so
score
they would be
or rating or
represent-
something.
Okay, I like that.
Make it like a game rather than just like
Yeah.
an interview.
Okay.
Also help kind of teach the fact that like these subjects, you know,
Mhm.
maybe like a little more like
Yeah. All right, guys, so let's keep thinking. I'll let you go. But the first thing is we have to nail down the quiz. So do you know how to do a quiz for different audiences, Presley? And you guys can, what are you doing on Wednesday? Yeah, and what are you doing, Presley, on? Perfect. My goodness gracious, how lucky can I get? Okay. All right, guys. So, yeah, so that would be your main focus. I'm sure that Dr. Bright will not have any, yeah. And again, thank you to Jessica and Molly for getting us started and testing this out. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm excited, and I hope this excites you and inspires you, because we have to do something for political discourse, and that would be your little contribution to show that people don't just have to argue needlessly. They can get things done. Nobody's going to get 100% of what they want, but politics is supposedly the art of compromise, and hopefully we can do something about it, and something you can be proud of. All right, and I will go and look at the schedules and see what I can do. And Taft, thanks for letting me know. Okay, guys, thank you. Good job, good brainstorming. I look forward to Wednesday, and